Welcome to VocaTales, where we listen, feel, and grow through stories that touch both your heart and your English. Tonight's story takes place in a small cafe that opens only at midnight, a place where time slows down and people find what they didn't know they were missing. Let's begin. The cafe that opens at midnight. In the center of a quiet city street, between an old bookstore and a flower shop, there was a cafe with no sign, only a small lantern that glowed softly after dark. It never opened during the day, but when the clock struck 12, the door would slowly open and warm light spilled onto the empty street. The cafe was called the Midnight Cup. No one knew who owned it. No one even saw anyone come in or out during daylight hours. But somehow, whenever someone needed it, it was there. That night, Maya, a young writer who couldn't sleep, found herself wandering through the city. She had just received another rejection email from a publisher. Her story had been turned down again. Feeling lost, she walked aimlessly until she noticed the small lantern. Curious, she stepped closer. A gentle voice from inside said, "We're open." "Come in." Maya hesitated, then pushed the door open. The air inside was warm with the smell of roasted coffee and cinnamon. A few candles flickered on the tables. Music played softly, an old jazz tune from a forgotten era. Behind the counter stood an elderly man wearing a simple gray apron. "Welcome," he said with a calm smile. "You look like someone who needs something warm." Maya smiled faintly. "Coffee, please." "Something strong." The man nodded. "One midnight special coming right up." She sat near the window, watching the rain begin to fall outside. A few other customers sat quietly, a taxi driver reading a newspaper, a girl sketching in her notebook, and an old couple sharing a single piece of cake. No one spoke loudly. It was as if everyone knew that silence was part of the menu. After a few minutes, the man brought her coffee. He placed it gently in front of her and said, "Here's something for the night. It helps you think, and sometimes forget." She laughed softly. "Do you always say mysterious things like that?" He chuckled. "Only after midnight." Maya took a sip. It was the best coffee she'd ever had. Not too bitter, not too sweet, perfectly warm. She sighed. "I've had a bad day." The man didn't ask why. He simply said, "Tell me what happened if you want." "The walls here don't gossip," Maya smiled. "I wrote a book." "I thought it was good." "But the publishers didn't," he nodded. "And you think they're right?" She paused. "Maybe, or maybe I'm just tired of trying." The man leaned on the counter. "Do you know why this cafe opens only at midnight?" Maya shook her head. "Because," he said, "people only listen to their hearts when the world is quiet." She thought about that for a moment. Then she said softly, "So you made a place for hearts to speak." He smiled. "Exactly." Hours passed like minutes. The taxi driver left. The sketching girl smiled at Maya before walking out into the rain. Only she and the old man remained. Before leaving, Maya asked, "Will you be open tomorrow?" He smiled gently. "We're always open for those who need us." When she stepped outside, she noticed the lantern flickering softly. She turned back for one last look, but the cafe was gone. Only the bookstore and flower shop remained, with no sign of a cafe between them. Maya stood there, confused but strangely at peace. In her hand she still held the cup. It was warm, and on the cup's surface there were faint words written in gold ink. "When the world sleeps, your dreams wake up." She smiled. The next morning she began writing again, this time not for anyone else, but for herself. That night, somewhere in another quiet street, the small lantern of the midnight cup began to glow once more. Thank you for listening to VocaTales. Sometimes the most beautiful places don't exist for everyone, only for those who truly need them. Keep your heart open, your dreams alive, and your English growing.